Welcome to rather a different video in that EconBrony and RammGirl run one of the biggest, most successful server groups I know. And a lot of people want to run servers, and I wanted to ask them about it and get a little bit of information from them. So to start off with, am I right that you run a server or multiple servers that cover three different games, which is Vintage Story, Minecraft, and Ark? Is that correct?
Correct. We actually kind of go from game to game. These aren't the only games we've run servers for. Like we've run a server for Starbound in the past as well,
Right.
and some other older games. Even if we go far enough back, we've run for Medal of Honor Allied Assault, little things like that.
Okay.
And we have plans of moving into some other games like Eco as well.
Do you run three servers on one machine?
No, they're actually in different locations. We rent VMs, so virtual machines.
Yeah.
We have machines in California and over here in Texas. We have had machines in China because we lived in China for a bit,
Oh, wow.
and we've had for the longest time a lot of our machines were located in Chicago, so it just kind of moves around,
Yeah.
and I move them around based on performance. I've done a lot of testing with different hosts. So sometimes we're with a host for only maybe a month,
Yeah.
and if I'm happy with the performance, we stay there. If not, we move. And one of our hosting companies we stayed along with was actually from England. We stayed with them for about 6 years,
Oh,
and then
gosh.
it's only recently that we've been using a U.S. company for a
Yeah.
lot of our hosting.
Yeah. What made you start running servers to begin with?
So it was mainly when we first started Aura Fury, we didn't even have a name for it or anything yet. It was family and friends. It was a small group of maybe 8 or 9 of us, but we lived in different locations
Ah.
uh, from around even the United States. And I was fortunate to be friends with somebody that ran their own little bit of a hosting company, but they mainly did websites.
Yeah.
But he had plenty of extra specs on his machine to run a Minecraft server. So we launched a Minecraft server, and it stayed just us in the beginning. But then we're like, oh, well, maybe it'd be fun to start letting some other people on and start meeting some more people and making new friends. So we started doing a little bit of recruiting and bringing people on, but we stayed very, very small in
Yeah.
the early days.
Yeah.
And then as some of the original founding members kind of moved on and went away, some of us were still very, very into it. So we started recruiting a lot more heavily and pulling together people.
Yeah.
And it's actually incredible that still to this day, even though we're almost 9 years old, a lot of the founding members of the group are still here. And a lot of those people recruited from the very beginning are still in the community too. That they don't necessarily play on the servers right now, but they come and go. And
Yes.
that's kind of something that's cool about our
Yeah.
community too,
Yeah.
is that we've constantly got these people that have been around us
Yeah.
for a long time coming and going from the
Yeah.
servers, but they always come back.
Well, I run a Minecraft realm, and I have done since 2013. And it's very interesting because we're still, 50% of us are the same group. And we sometimes play a lot, sometimes we play a little. But we're all incredible friends, and it's amazing how you do make friends with people that you play online with.
It's made it very rewarding, and that's one of the big things that makes running a big community worthwhile,
Yeah,
especially when it stays in the long run like this. You meet so many different people from around the world, and you make new friends that you're even talking with constantly outside of the game world.
yeah, absolutely. Uh, Tell me, what, I mean, you've got literally hundreds of people on your server. How do you decide? Is it an open server? Is it by invitation?
We're a bit of a mixed,
Yeah.
and it's an application process that we use. So we have a website, and there's a very basic application to go through. Basically, just tell me your in-game name. It gives me your email to contact you, and it tells me what games you're interested in. And I always ask if you're an independent player, because we're a community of a lot of mature independent players. So we're not really the community that you'd come to looking for new teammates per se. So you'd
Yeah.
want to bring your team with you, because odds are when you come here that everyone's already established
Yeah.
that they've got their teams. Not to say that you can't find a team member, because there are people that have that have created brand new teams here after just meeting people on the server. But we always ask that so we don't have people constantly recruiting in the chat saying, I want a team member, and so on.
Yeah.
And through the application process, because I get your in-game names, I can do searches through known ban lists to make sure that you weren't a troublemaker on other servers. So there is a little bit to it when I decide whether or not you get in. And for age, I allow people under the age of 18 only if they're honest on the application.
Yeah.
So we have a few people over the years that have come in when they're 15, 16, 17.
Yeah.
And we really haven't had any issues. We've been pretty lucky. Yeah. Some of them have actually started with us when they were in high school, and now they've graduated from college.
Well, actually, that's like us, because we started with a couple of 14-year-olds in our group. And we've watched them sort of go off to university, play occasionally, come back. And we had no trouble with them because they were thoroughly decent people. So, yeah, it's not a problem. But I was invited in, which I was very pleased about. And
we have that process too, where if somebody who's already established or already has a reputation with us, if they say, hey, I've got a friend that's really interested in playing, any chance you could just whitelist them and bring them in. Most of the time we gamble on that and just go ahead and bring people in, and we just monitor closely if we see any issues or anything, because it's easier to monitor in Minecraft than it is to monitor in Vintage Story
or Ark.
Yeah, Ark is impossible to monitor. That's why the Ark server is really hard to work with. But in Minecraft, we've had no issues, because if any issues ever did pop up, the process of fixing and finding out who it was so quick and easy to do that if there were issues, they were fixed immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it must be easy with someone like myself, because I make videos. You can sort of watch a couple of videos and think, well, that looks...
To be fair, we have done that. When he's double checking ages for some people, he'll go onto YouTube and Twitch and see if their name lines up with any streams, and then he'll listen to their voice.
Yeah, well, it's pretty obvious from my voice that I'm not a young teenager.
It can be hard to actually tell by people's voice, though.
Well,
so the decision generally doesn't get made on that.
Yeah.
Well, no, the way they talk to, there's ways to tell if somebody's much younger than what they're, if somebody says they're 35 on the application and they most certainly don't sound 35, sometimes, it's easy to tell, especially with the speech patterns.
Yes, speech patterns more than anything else.
Yeah, over the years, I've denied very, very few applications. So
most of the time, we don't have issues with people. If somebody does apply and they get denied, it's because they didn't use the name and it came back with no results.
Yeah, they didn't give us their correct email address is the most common by far. They give me like a fake email address, or they make a error on the email address, so I have no way to contact them back.
It's crazy, isn't it? But often people who are griefers, they just like to go on and grief for no reason.
And that helps vet that out. If they're not willing to provide actual information about themselves, that means that they were not going in with the best of intentions.
Yeah. And suppose you're on a server like this and you've got somebody who's, here you can claim land, which makes it harder for people to steal or set fire to things. But have you had any problems?
Technically, yes.
Very minor.
But nothing that couldn't be talked about right away, so it was figured out.
Yeah, we had a couple of lanterns disappear off
I
of
saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and we had to remind people that it's against the rules to take the lanterns. So one lantern, it was when 3 new players had joined that day, and had gone a ways, and I don't know, maybe they just thought it was okay to take. But after that, we never had an issue. And then another person borrowed a lantern and ended up taking it back.
Oh, what we treasure most, it's not the gold, it's the lanterns.
Yeah.
Expensive.
They are expensive, they are. Okay, I can see why you started running servers. From the point of view of people running a server, what are the pluses that you get out of it? What are the minuses for you?
So one of the big pluses of running your own server is you get to create the server with the rules and everything that you want.
Yeah.
So you get a whole bunch of control over that. Obviously, after you get going, you're starting to get a lot more input from your community if your community is willing to give you that input. So that's one of the big pluses. And then another big plus is it does actually feel good to be able to provide something very, very fun for a
Yeah.
lot of individuals to come in and enjoy with you. It's one of the reasons why I do mod pack development too
Yeah.
for Minecraft. Even though it's so much work and it's a very thankless job in many ways, because you only hear about the problems, you don't hear about the good things in many cases.
Yeah.
I still know that tons of people are having a lot of fun because of all the work that I've put into doing this. So all the work I've put into running the servers, all the work I've put into developing mod packs and making things work together. A lot of people get enjoyment because of that. So
Absolutely.
that's one of the big pluses.
Yeah. I remember playing Life in the Woods in Minecraft, and honestly, that to me, perfect game for me. I loved it. And funny enough, with Sarity and Tyron doing so much beautiful work in Vintage Story, it's starting to compensate for the fact that Life in the Woods disappeared off my screen. Well, they just couldn't keep the mods up with the development of Minecraft. But
Yeah.
I find that Vintage Story provides me with that sort of variety of rock, variety of minerals, variety of flora and fauna that I desperately wanted. So I can understand how people can get into certain mod packs. And if you put the mod pack together correctly, it can be wonderful. So I understand that. Does it take a lot of technical knowledge to run a server? Because I've often thought of running a small one just for 2 or 3 people, but I'm not sure I've got the technical ability.
It's a bit mixed because you can rent a small server from another company and just make sure you get a company that's got a control panel that's easy to use, and a lot of them will make it very, very simple for you to start and stop the servers and so on, clicks of buttons, to where
Yeah.
you'll need very little technical knowledge to run it. The where the technical knowledge comes in is if you run into problems.
Yeah.
So it's diagnosing and fixing why your servers are crashing. It's fixing worlds if they become corrupted.
Yeah.
Which, your question before when you were asking what is the downsides, that's one of the downsides is whenever there's a problem, it's going to fall completely on you and your ability to either get help or the technical knowledge you have to get the world back up or to keep that server running really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people complain if you have to roll back a server any certain amount of time to save something, because sometimes you can't save the current world and you have to roll back to a previous save. If some people lose like an hour or two, it's incredibly demotivating for
Yeah,
a lot of
like you
people.
can end up having them leave the world or even the whole community.
Yeah. I can understand that. I can
So that's
understand that.
probably so not only is it just being able to identify and fix, it's you've got to be on top of it. You can't let problems go for like a week at a time, or you're gonna come back to basically your dead server
Yeah.
afterward.
Yep.
But what happens when you're asleep if the server goes down? Do you have to wake up?
Ha, Econ doesn't sleep. His phone is next to his bed.
Oh, I sleep. But
But he has sometimes woken up to, especially in the Discord, to messages from people saying, "Hey, server's down. What's going on?"
yeah, I have gotten
Oh.
up at 4 in the morning because my phone was buzzing, and it was because the Minecraft server went down. So got
Oh.
up, fixed it, got it going again, and then went back to bed.
I
But the best thing you can do is enlist a little bit of help.
Yeah.
So I'm really fortunate to have Aladark in this community because he can start and stop the server because there is a crash that happens on occasion
Yeah.
that you have to manually restart the server for people to be able to log in.
Yeah.
Pyromancer is another one that has helped me not only in Vintage Story here, but also on the Minecraft servers.
Yeah.
He actually I give him full access to everything because he's got quite a bit of technical knowledge as well for
Yeah.
helping diagnose what's causing crashes as well. But he's on at different times, so he works a third shift, so he'll be on while I'm sleeping. And
That is
Aladark
helpful.
is normally on in the morning before I'm up.
Yeah.
So between the three of us, we've got the server covered for the most part.
Yeah. No, I can see that. Aladark is to me one of the joys of this server because I knew him but not well, and I started chatting to him because he was the one that sent me the address of where he was living, and I sort of turned up on his doorstep, naked and starving, and he's been an absolute joy to be with. So I feel I've gained a friend. So it's been really nice.
We're very fortunate to have him on the server. He's been a blast to chat with and a lot of fun to play with, and very helpful in giving advice on how to run the server as well as helping to run the server itself.
Yeah. Well, my technical knowledge is that I can barely run a computer, let alone run a server. I have no idea what goes wrong with my single-player worlds. I just scream for Tyron all the time. So basically, I'm just going to turn this music down. It's getting a tad... Hang on, it's getting a tad loud. And it's on low. Right, okay. It's that track that's loud. But I find... Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to stand up. Whoops. I was just turning towards you. I think that it is a brilliant, brilliant thing to run servers and to give people so much space to play, to enjoy with other people. So the downsides from your point of view are you have to really have some really good technical knowledge, and on a server this big, you've got to have a good team around you.
Yep.
Okay.
And one of the other things is if you want the community to stay at a good size, it's going to take a lot of recruiting. A lot of times devoted to recruiting and finding people and advertising your community, because people are going to constantly be going, and there's a lot of people that join your servers. They're on for 2 minutes and they leave and never come back.
Yeah, well, I feel a bit guilty about that because, we suffered a death in the family, so I've not been on as much as I'd want, so apologies from me on that one. But I did, I went to see another server, and I just looked round, and it was called Conquest of Blocks, and the builds there were stunning, and I just looked around and I thought, I can't compete with this. It's just too extraordinary. It was just amazing. And they said, oh, why don't you, because I'd purposely gone on just to have a look at some of the builds there. And, guys said to me, why don't you stay on and play with us? And I said, well, I'd be living in a garden shed, and somebody else described that episode as being another one of Ashantin's tours of the rich and famous. and these people...
They've got some impressive builds over there, and very friendly admin staff from what I've been told.
I think they are a delight, that server, an absolute delight, that you couldn't get more friendly and helpful and nice. But it's just, when you walk in, you're looking at it thinking, oh, good grief, it's like joining a maths group and finding that you're at sort of, what I would call entry level for university, and the other guys have got PhDs. There is a difference in the quality of what they produce. So it's quite difficult, I think, with a server to satisfy everyone. But Aladark and I were messing around the other day, and we found somebody who just started off. And, they're very happy to come and to start. They get places they can go where there's bare ground. And a friend of mine's joined as well, Kendi64, who's lovely. So it's a very, very friendly, welcoming place, this one. So I think vintage story servers are.
Yeah, it really depends on the people, though. If you've got a bunch of good people there, then it's going to end up being really nice.
I always think that a server atmosphere is set by the people who started off and run it. And I think
Oh, no, I was gonna say it's very easy to ruin that though too, because from what we've seen, we've gone and hopped around to other Minecraft servers way back when before we had like there was a specific mod pack I was interested in, but he didn't want to develop a huge mod pack before I had seen what the mod was about.
Yeah.
So we went and jumped onto a couple of servers, and it was an empty server, which you feel bad when you walk into it. But the first thing they did was jump and just be saying, welcome to the server and stuff. But then they start giving you free stuff, and you're inside this basically the oh, what do you call that?
It's a giant spawn building.
Yeah, spawn buildings. So we're walking around in this huge spawn building. I've been given like 3 or 4 free things. And then afterward, we turned loose afterward and actually explored the actual world, which then at that point I actually liked the mod. And I was like, okay, go ahead and develop me a mod pack for this. I like it. But it was that whole initial, they were so starved for people to be on the server that it was actually a turnoff the minute we hopped on. We didn't want to be given stuff. We're Minecraft players. So when you jump onto a Minecraft server or something akin to it, you don't want to be, have your hand held for some of that stuff. At least our community doesn't want that. Most of our crews are like huge end game players. They want to start from the beginning and climb that ladder to greatness. If you are given a bunch of stuff in the beginning, well, you're not really achieving it then, and you lose interest.
That brings me to one of my first pointers for anyone that is admitting servers or starting a community is over administration is one of the problems you run into so many communities. You get on there and almost everyone that's in the server is an admin. You have so many different admins and the admins are bored. So they're constantly bothering everyone instead of just being another player on the server. And another one that can really kind of kill the motivation on your servers if your admins are using creative mode a lot to do a lot of their builds, or they're spawning things in for players and saying, here's some free stuff. And so it's great to greet people when they come on, and it's great to kind of provide some help for players that are looking for it, especially ones that are just starting out in the game for the first time. But if you're constantly bothering them and constantly teleporting to them and saying hi, it's a big turnoff for quite a few people. And it's not just for adult players; it's younger players as well. They want to be able to go out and build and have some fun and kind of come in and contribute to the server.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me to one of my other pointers: is the more you can leave to the community to have fun with, the better. So that's why my server doesn't have a spawn. So when you show up, it's just those signs that Aladark built, which are very nice.
Yeah.
And then QWP was really nice and built us kind of like a Stargate looking thing around our portal.
Yeah.
But we don't have a big town. We don't have a big village. It's a road that directs you to other places. We want when you first enter the server, we want you to be lag free as possible. So we don't want a whole bunch of things to load at spawn. And we want it to be how the community built it. So if I ever have a spawn town or a village, it's because a whole bunch of people on the server got together and went, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's huge. The more you leave to the community, the better.
Yeah. And also I think it gives a wonderful look to the place. And your area here is actually achieving that amazing look, because I notice you've got buildings that you started out with, and then you've got the more complex buildings. Now RammGirl's moved into this sort of beautiful modern house on the hill, which is sort of luxury, and it's really, really interesting watching it all come on. What do you do with people who have in-game names that you don't like? Because there's one on your server, I can't ever envisage myself playing with that name. I couldn't even say it. It's something I just don't like very much. What do you do with that? Do you let people have what names they want?
It's your best bet to just let people have their names the way they want them.
And that particular person's name, I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about, has a different meaning in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's not by any means
Of course.
Yep.
My goodness. Apologies. I have got
Well,
that.
honestly,
I've got that person so
there's
wrong.
only certain words that are actually problematic, and we haven't ever had them before.
Yeah, the bum is, somebody that's either,
Yep.
lazy, doesn't like to do things, or it's somebody that lives on the streets is another. It's
Do you
the
know
other
something?
slang term for it in the U.S.
I am sitting here with my face as red as a beetroot because I have so misunderstood that name, and it's actually my filthy mind and nothing to do with the player.
Well, to be fair, because I knew that had two different meanings technically attached to it too, but we don't worry about it because one, it wasn't explicit, so it's not that big of a deal.
That's true.
Everybody here on the server is an adult. So aside from somebody having the name Swag 420, 96, or 69 and all that, we're pretty much okay with all that.
Yeah, we're very lenient on the in-game names. Usually if the game creators themselves are allowing it, it's going to be pretty safe. Obviously, there's some exceptions, but I've never denied anyone based on their name so far.
Well, I have to say, I owe that person such a huge apology.
You're eventually going to want to go out and see their base. They've got incredibly creative builds going. And it's going to be really cool when he gets finished. He's doing things I haven't really seen done before, which is awesome.
Wasn't he the one that gave us our tables?
Yeah, he's the one that gave us the tables too.
So really, trust me, the name is not indicative of the person.
No.
Yeah. Very friendly guy.
If I'd only sort of remembered that he's probably American, I would have had no problem with it.
Honestly, if a name is not explicit, we don't worry about it.
Yeah,
we really don't.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that look at names and have zero understanding of what it means. So either like for mine, do you know how many people say RammGirl without really thinking about anything else about it?
Well,
I've have a meaning behind it, and people would be just like, "Well, why would you tell people that you ram people, or do you want to be rammed and stuff like that?" That it's not actually true, so you don't worry about it. You're just like, whatever.
It's actually German. It's Ram.
RammGirl.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what does that mean?
I'm a Rammstein fan.
Are you?
The music band, the German music band.
I know them very well. And
a lot of people don't even put two and two together. They're just like RammGirl, and I'm like, well, there's two M's in there, but whatever.
I absolutely love their music. And did you see them at the beginning of a James Bond film?
Oh, well, wait, a James Bond film?
Yeah, they show at the beginning of a James Bond film.
I knew they were in XXX, but I didn't know they were in a James Bond film.
Yeah,
I'll go figure out which one that is.
Yeah, no, well, you're talking to a fellow fan there.
All right.
And that's, judging from my accent, that's probably the last thing you ever imagined. But I'm a heavy metal girl. I love it. I mean, Iron Maiden, oh. Excuse me.
I guess I really didn't know what to expect for music, but for me, it's not that I'm heavy metal. It's just that Rammstein was like something so different to me, and I stuck with it. There's actually not many other really heavy metal bands that I'm a huge fan for. It literally was just Rammstein.
Well, I like all music, but that one in particular. And EconBrony, what is your background to your name?
It's actually quite simple. So econ stands for economics. I'm an economics professor. That's what I do. And then I am also a brony. So EconBrony.
Wow. I feel I ought to be on my knees saying I am not worthy, I am not worthy. And RammGirl, what do you do?
For right now, I'm just teaching English as a second language, so to foreigners, and that's really about it.
Brilliant. Point them towards my videos.
They actually do enjoy it. If I bring in like videos with foreigners and people that have like, because we have the English from America, England, and Australia,
Yeah,
so they've gotten exposed to some of that.
yeah, absolutely. We've wandered a long way from just servers. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you think would be useful to people who want to run servers?
The advertising, marketing, recruiting. That is so, oh my God. It's time inducing. It's you have to be sort of creative with your advertisement. You have to know how to advertise and where to advertise because the Minecraft advertising is really annoying.
Yeah.
It's really hard because
It,
the moderators will come in and just be like, stop advertising.
it
Really?
depends on where you advertise, but a lot of times, any of your big community forums are a great place to go and post,
Yeah.
but some of them can have pretty strict rules on how you do it. I was actually doing a project for my graduate studies
Yeah.
for my MBA, and one of the projects I did was what we're talking about right now: how to run a community for Minecraft and such, and how to grow it. And I was actually running a discussion on the forums
Yeah.
about that. And we had some pretty detailed posts, and we had multiple communities chatting back and forth. And the moderators came in and closed us down and said that we were advertising for our communities.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I mean, one of
So the
the, yeah.
stereotype of your fat, lazy moderator that has nothing better to do than to be an asshole and stretch their power is actually very true.
And
It can
on
be.
that note,
It's, it's back to the whole over moderation
yeah,
and over adminning. You have to be
yeah,
very, very careful with that.
yeah,
The next thing, as anytime that you're running servers, one of the things you have to be constantly considering is performance of those servers.
right,
So you have to weigh out how many players you let on. You have to weigh out how many mods. You have to watch when you do the updates to the newest versions of the game.
yeah,
You want to make sure there's no big bugs
mm-hmm.
before you do your updates. So that's all very important. And staying on top, of course, of all the information that's coming out for your game is great to do, so that
Yes,
you know about those bugs, so you don't accidentally update too soon.
yeah, absolutely,
And backups, backups, backups.
yeah,
Make sure you are taking backups of your servers, so if you ever do end up with a corrupted world, you have something to go back on.
yeah,
Our servers automatically back up onto a separate server, so if this server ever completely got destroyed for some reason, we'd still have emergency backups of it.
yeah. I must admit, every time I update any game, I do take a backup. I started playing Minecraft on the Pocket Edition, and they had a bug where your world would literally burn if lava was too close to the surface. And I had this world in Minecraft, and I watched my world burn. It
Oh
was
my gosh.
Wow, literally.
it turned to ash, and I was left with nothing but a screen full of black snowflakes. And I've always said, you can't count yourself a Minecraft player unless you've watched your world burn. But that came from an update, and ever since then I've been pretty careful. I'm
Yeah,
very
the fire wouldn't stop spreading.
no,
Yeah,
That's what it was.
I get
Yeah,
it.
and it just
I
burned.
remember that one.
It burned the rock.
Oh my gosh.
It was phenomenal. Anyway, so you have to be up to date with everything. That's all fantastically good advice. And people always think it's a great thing to run a server, but it's actually, from the sound of it, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, you have to like it. You can't
Yes.
do it because, hey, I want to run a server because everybody's running servers. No, you got to have a little bit of talent. You got
Yep.
to
Yeah.
have a lot of dedication, a lot of time. And then when you have people that count on you, you have to be willing to wake
Yes.
up, get stuff done. When we're on vacation, he has access to his computer. So, if the server goes down and we're on a vacation for a week somewhere, he goes and fixes it.
Yep.
Wow.
So you got to be able to stick to it.
Yep. And you have to
Yeah.
choose kind of a target market on who you want on your servers. Like we went for more of a mature, older community, and that changes how you are
Yeah.
going to run your servers. And we also specifically chose the goal of not going for profit too. So if you're going to go for profit, it completely changes the community and how things are going to be.
Yeah.
You start, if you go for profit, it pushes you more towards kind of like the pay to win type server.
Oh.
And
Nobody likes a pay to win server.
And that's actually one of the things that we always avoid when we look for a community. So you really need to just step back and go, what do I look for in communities? What I really want, and kind of do that and listen to everyone that's coming in.
Yeah.
And one of those things you'll constantly hear is, I don't want to see advertisements for donations. I don't want to have to buy things constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very much one of the things we did. So yeah, we accept donations. Yes, we have a Patreon, but it's not in everyone's faces. There's no advertisement whatsoever when you log onto the servers.
Yeah.
And I don't advertise it in the Discords. And there's a link to it that you can find in the pinned messages. There's a link to it on our website, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And we made it so that you get zero benefits on the server for it too.
Yeah.
So the only reason you'd want to donate would be to just help the servers and keep the community going and help support that.
Yeah.
Not to get something in game, not to get some advantage or some special title or color of your name or something like that. All you get here is a thank you.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference. But that's because we know who our target market is.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that keeps people here, because we're not constantly bothering them for money.
Yeah.
Everyone is in a different situation, and you never know what their situation is.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. That's been...
Yeah, I was just going to say, the video might have to get cut short because of temporal storm, and it's a heavy one.
Yeah. Believe me, that's been a complete education for me. Thank you both so much. Thank you.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.